Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, welcome and thank you so much for joining me today. I greatly appreciate that. So today we've got something exciting. If you saw in the thumbnail, we've got a Miss Quilty box to do an unboxing. And after we go through the box and I show you all the goodies that are in there, then I'm going to go make the block of the month that's included with the kit. And I'll come back and let you know my thoughts on how it worked, how easy it was to do, any issues or any problems. So, if you've never heard of Miss Quilty before, if you have ever thought about wanting to learn how to quilt, or if you're a beginner and you just want a way to sharpen up your skills, even if you've been quilting for a long time like I have. If you've been around my channel very long, then you know before we moved last year, I had a small quilt shop that I ran with my mom. So I have been quilting and sewing since I was a little kid. And when Miss Quilty reached out to me about doing a video for an unboxing, I was thrilled to death because I think this is a really cool way for someone that wants to learn how to quilt and maybe doesn't have somebody close by or somebody they know that can help them on their quilting journey. So let's jump right in and let me show you all the goodies that are included in this box. Um, these go month by month, so even if, say, they started 10 years ago and you just now sign up, everybody gets the same exact first box. Everybody gets the same second box. They all go in order, so everyone has the opportunity to get the same exact thing. Now, let's see what's in this. And I think this box is really neat. Another thing, they do have a Facebook page, which I joined because I wanted to get some genuine feedback from other people who were using the box. And that is very helpful. There's lots of people that are just beginning their quilting journey that are in that Facebook channel. I mean, the Facebook group. If you need to go on YouTube, they also have a YouTube channel with some really good tutorials to help you out there. So let's open this puppy up. First thing you see, Quilt, Laugh, Love, which I think is really neat. And then we have this awesome magazine. I will tell you, I've already looked through this because I wanted to prepare myself instead of just fumbling through. On the back, I have a sign in my quilting room that says, when life gives you scraps, make a quilt. That is true. So, what we get in the magazine, you get a welcome page with all of your unique approach. It tells you how they do things, why they do things, all that kind of stuff. Crafting your quilting vision. There's a place for you to make out a plan. If you're a planner, a note taker, this will be for you. The tools you will need. And I have to say, if you are just starting out with quilting, these are must-haves. You really need a rotary cutter. That will get you the clean, precise cuts for much better blocks in quilting. That is important. And quilting rollers, of course, those are helpful. Um, a cutting mat. Yes, you use the cutting mat with your rotary cutter and your rollers. You definitely have to have scissors, pins and pin cushion, a seam ripper, like it or not, you're going to need one. An iron and ironing board, of course, thread, that is a no-brainer, quilting needles, and marking tools. I guess they're pretty handy. I don't use a whole lot of those myself, but it tells you what is in your first box. You get 12 fat quarters, and the fabrics that are in these boxes are made just for Mrs.Quilty boxes. So you're not going to go to the store and see the same thing, which I think is another really neat personal touch that's added to these boxes. You get a free gift. Well, actually, two free gifts. And here is the block of the month. It's called Crazy Mosaic. That's the block of the month this time. This month's project is a pot holder, a quilted placemat, and a lunch bag project. Gifts just for you, the quilting roller and the thread spool holders. I'll show those to you in a second. Here it shows you all of the fabrics that are included in this box. And the technique of the month is basic piecing, which that's really where you need to start. So it tells you how to do it, different ways. There's the beginner's glossary, which I think is helpful. There's your projects of the month. There's the other ones, all of your written instructions, and this is something I think is really neat too. On each page there is a QR code that takes you directly to a YouTube video of a how-to if you need extra help. And I did watch that video myself and it was really thorough, so I think that's nice. Let's get past the projects and see what else is in these little good pages. Getting to the end here. Okay, there is the last project. There's the templates, that's for the lunchbox. And at the end, I mean, this is necessary for quilting. Who doesn't need a good snack while they're quilting? There is oatmeal cookies for crafting, which I think is really neat. Who doesn't love a good oatmeal cookie? And right there is the links to the Instagram and the Facebook groups for the Mrs.Quilty boxes. And they also have a QR code to send feedback. If you've ever got any issues or problems, reach out to them, let them know. I have joined their Facebook group and I think it's really been helpful for a lot of people. There are people in there from all different skill levels, so if you decide to jump on the Mrs.Quilty subscription box train, then I would recommend joining the Facebook group. Next, let's open up our free gifts this time. And of course, you can click on the link down below if you're thinking of starting out on a quilting journey or just want something different to do. Maybe you've been quilting for a long time and sometimes you just need some inspiration. I think this would be great for that. But if you click on my link, you will save 20% on your first box. Here is the ruler that comes in this box, and I know it looks kind of smoky, and that's because it has a protective layer on it that you just peel off. I haven't done that yet, but this is really, really neat. It has lots of little tiny markings, and you will use this constructing your block of the month that's in here, so I think that is really handy. Very precise little measurements in there, and you've got this nice 45-degree line there too. And the other free gift in here are these thread spool wraps. Don't you hate, well, if you've sewn before, don't you hate the thread just getting everywhere? I have an embroidery machine too, and that stuff gets everywhere. So these are really, really nice. I have 3 of those in this little bag. And the other thing in here, the coup de grace for this box, is my 12 fat quarters. So let's just open these puppies up. They are 100% cotton. Oh, these actually feel really nice. I see a floral and polka dot theme here. We've got this one, this nice diagonal. Then we've got a polka dot. Got this really pretty floral. It's blues and reds and white. And we've got a smaller one. Different scale prints work really well together than this one. Another good point, if you're a person who struggles with putting colors together, then this is perfect. They've already done that work for you. You know that all of these fabrics coordinate together. That's really pretty. We've got another polka dot, which are very popular, by the way. We've got another floral, this pretty butterfly, and then we've got this red and blue polka dot. So these feel really nice, I think. And let's see. These are nice. If you don't know what a fat quarter is, it is 1/4 of a yard cut in half. So you get, they're usually around 18 by 22. A regular bolt of quilting cotton is normally about 42 wide, and a yard is 36 inches long. So you get half of a 1/4 yard, which fat quarters are really useful in all kinds of blocks. And I want to say this about the first project. I think they did a good job picking this block because you're going to be making strip sets, which is a really good place to start, and you're going to be making one of my personal favorite blocks in the entire quilting world, which is a half square triangle. You would be really surprised with how many different looks you can create with half square triangles. So I urge you to try this box, make the half square triangles. That will open up a whole new world for you as far as quilting. So now it's time for me to go to my sewing room, get this first block made using their instructions, see just how well it works, and I will be back to let you know. See you soon. Bye. Hey everybody, I'm back and look what I have. Isn't that beautiful? I love this block. Um, a couple things that I want to make sure that I go over with you that are not in the instructions. First and foremost, take all of your fabrics out and give them a really good press first to get all the creases out. That way it helps you to get a much smoother cut when you're cutting your little blocks for strip sets and you're cutting for your half square triangles. And another thing, this is not included in your kit and not listed in there. And honestly, I quilted many years before I had one of these. But if you think that you're going to want to continue to quilt, and I hope you do, one thing that is very handy, especially for half square triangles, is this little tool called a seam guide tool. When you're doing your half square triangles, you lay this diagonally on your fabric on the back and make sure that the middle, each corner of your little square is in this middle right here, and then each side of this is a 1/4 inch. So that way you lay your fabric down. Let's say I'm going to use this napkin laying right here as an example. So if this is the back of our fabric for our 1/4 square or for our half square triangles, you lay this from here to here. Make sure your corners are in the middle of that right there, and then you just mark down this side and mark down that side. Then you can sew directly on those lines, and you don't have to guess or buy diagonal seam tape, any of that kind of stuff. Depend on the markings on your machine. None of that. You just lay this down corner to corner, mark on each side, and then sew directly on those lines you marked. And then you're going to be stitching right on the 1/4 inch mark from the diagonal, which this is such a time saver. It makes your blocks so much more precise, and it really helps a lot. But another thing, if you want your blocks to look just like this, just like in the picture in the magazine, then when you lay this one over top, make sure which direction your fabric is going underneath, because if not, you're going to have some going sideways, some going this way. So just look at the block before you sew those together. And I mean, if you follow the instructions in this magazine that they send you, it worked out perfectly. I pretended that I had never sewn before, and I just went through from step 1 all the way down to step 15, and as you can see, my block turned out great. I mean, this is beautiful. And when you make the little strip sets right here, that's where you can put your own spin on this. You can design that little strip however you want to, put the blocks in any order you want to. I just kind of liked that little compilation of how I put the colors together right there. But you do have a little bit of individuality there. And I've watched a couple other videos, and even in the instructional video, it has using white fabric right here. But I'm going to tell you, in the instructions, it is not using white fabric. So if you want to make this block of the month only using what you have in your Miss Quilty box, then this is what you're going to end up with. And it is a beautiful block. I will say, even though mine went together what I consider perfectly, my seams are matched up great, everything looks good, my block is just like a hair off of the 12.5 inch square. Mine's more like 12 and 7/8 or something like that. No, 12 and 3/8, something like that. So I'll be honest, I cut mine down to 12 and a quarter, which as long as you take each one of these and cut it to the same size when you're done, I mean, square it up to 12 and a quarter and you're good. And this is another thing I thought was really neat. It gives you a look ahead as what to expect in the next couple of boxes. So if you do your block of the month for each box set that you get, this is what you're going to end up with after 6, and I think that is really cool. So you're getting kind of like, it may be a subscription box, but you're also getting a block of the month kit on top of that. One thing that I'm not really sure, and I hesitate saying this, the colorful pot holder, this project number 2, says that this is a beginner project. The only thing that I say I don't really feel is beginner friendly about this is that it has binding on it. I'll be honest, I've sewn for a long time, and binding can be kind of tricky to get the hang of, but I mean, it's great to practice on. You're making a pot holder. It is beginner friendly because you're taking the skills you learned in the block of the month and you're applying that to this project. And then you're building on that by actually quilting your squares when you're done and putting on binding. So, one other thing that I thought was worth mentioning when you do the strip sets, don't stress about it because you're actually going to end up cutting some off of those. And I thought this was really neat too. You've got a ton of fabric left because we're only making one block out of all that, but this is all the scrap that I ended up with off of those. So very little waste, which I think is neat. And these, I have a handy dandy little scrap basket sitting on my table that these are going to go in that I will make another project with in the future. But all in all, I think it's pretty neat. The block of the month, everything you need is in the kit. Now for the pot holder, you will need to get some batting. So if you don't have batting, then you're not going to have everything you need for that. I apologize, y'all. We are having a front deck built, so if you hear that construction noise in the background, that's what it is. But I am sick and tired of walking through sand, so we're dealing with it. The placemat, you're also going to need some batting for that. I mean, you can use a scrap because it's just one placemat, 13 by 18 and a half. But if you don't have that, then maybe you just go through and make the block of the month each time until you get comfortable enough, and then go back and start on your projects. For the quilter's lunchbox, there's quite a few things you need to make that are not in here. You're going to need fusible foam. I don't even have that. Fusible fleece, another thing that I don't keep on hand. Fusible web, I do have that. And you're going to need a zipper. So quite a few extra things you have to add to it to be able to do the quilted lunchbox. But if you're gung-ho and want to just run through the entire book, or see what you think about things first, honestly, I'm kind of impressed by that because I was expecting my block to at least have some wonky parts. I do not strive to be perfect, and I think if you do, you're going to suck all the joy out of quilting. Just completed is better than perfect any day of the week. If you want to start quilting, I highly recommend this as a great starting point. Even if you've been quilting for a long time, like I said before, and you're just looking for some inspiration, something different to do, maybe you just like different fabrics you can't find anywhere else, then this box is definitely going to be for you. We didn't even use any of these 3 fat quarters, which I'm seriously impressed by this fabric. No issues whatsoever. We didn't even use those at all, and I still have all of this left off of the other 6. So I think there's plenty of fabric to do your projects with. And all in all, if you think you want to give this Mrs.Quilty subscription box a try, this is box number 1. By all means, use my discount code. It is Michelle20. I will drop that down in the description box for you, and also a pinned comment that will get you 20% off of your first box. Thank you very much for watching, and stay tuned because I will have another box coming up very soon for you. Thanks everybody. Bye.